Good morning, YouTubers. I'm just catching up on some snare building today, and I'll kind of show you what I've got going on. I pulled some old snares from an established bait site on the trap line, and the old snares that were there, they didn't have breakaways, so they had to get opened up anyway. And but they're 1/8 cable, and there's a couple of different kinds of 1/8 cable that were used at the time, but they're just so big that what I'm going to utilize them for is for anchor cables. I needed a whole bunch more anchor cables that were shorter. I had mostly 6-footers or whatnot. So what I've done is taken and utilized the old snares and just build anchor cables for my new snares. But yeah, I kind of looked at the old snares, and I'm wondering about salvaging this and that, and I just can't really come up with any kind of a feasible reason why I'm ever going to take and build 1/8 snares. I don't know what I would build them for, so what I'm doing is I'm just taking an old snare, and what I've got here is I've got two different kinds of cable. See if we can see that. So one is I don't know if it's a 7x7 group, and then the other one is yeah, you can kind of see that. And then if you look at the size difference there, to a 1x19, you can really see the difference in today's wolf snaring technology. And again, this is to each his own. So this is a 5/64 1x19 cable, and these other ones are 1/8. But I don't know. I think maybe to some extent, maybe back in the day, a trapper wouldn't have wanted, whatever X amount of critters to take and get away. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was necessarily to take and target other species, but I do know that there's a lot of conversation, depending on who you talk to, about how big snares need to be. And again, it's kind of everybody's flavor, and some people are more comfortable with bigger snares, and some people are comfortable with the newer, smaller snares. I know there's some guys out there that are actually targeting and killing wolves with 1/8 cable, but I like the 1x19 5/64 cable. It's nice and stiff. It holds up really well. So what I've got, when I take and I cut the snare up, is I've basically got two anchor pieces. This one here I can just take and open up and loop around a tree or fasten to a stake or whatever I want to do, but I do have this cam here, and I'm not sure. I was kind of looking at it and I was like, well, you know what, am I going to take that cam off, and is there any reason why I'm going to take and use it? But I've already got a kit with probably 150 of these used 1/8 cams and and I bought some new ones when I kind of first got into my wolf curiosity, my wolf snaring curiosity. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ding and leave it on there. And basically the idea of it is I'll just take and close this snare up around or this anchor here up around a snare. And yeah, like I said, we've got most of the snares that I've got out in the trees that are either on a location to, to be set, or they're sitting on a trail, or I've got them in bundles hanging in trees to set more snares. But most of those, they've all got longer anchors, and this particular one now it's going to be shorter because I have found in the past that I'm wrapping up a lot of snare around the base of the tree. So here now what I've got is, so if I loop this end around a tree, I don't know what I've got there, like a meter or 3 feet, something like that. And even if a guy has to take and move that snare around, a lot of times the ideal location what I'm looking for is to set on a track that runs right alongside a tree. It makes it easy, and put this around your tree and away you go. And then basically my snare here is going to be fully open. I'm just waiting for my S hooks to come in. But basically, this is going to be the snare. So we've got an anchor, and we've got our snare. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. But this is kind of what I was looking for. I was needing that. I was needing shorter anchors, and I had all that extra cable and looking to utilize these snares, and so that's what I'm going to do with that cam. I'm just going to leave it laying in there. Like, I'm not concerned about that. I'm just going to leave it in there. It's not going to hurt anything, and there's really no reason for me to take and cut all this apart, do a cut here and a cut here, and then put another loop in and use up another ferrule. I just don't see that it makes any sense to me. What the heck? And then leave a little bit of that flavor from the old days when the old trappers were there using these. I don't know, what do you want to call these grizzly bear killers? I mean, for sure this thing would have held a small grizzly bear. I've heard the stories. But yeah, and then on this end here, I'm just waiting for my S hooks to come in. So we're going to have an S hook that'll take and that'll loop up. Right here, off of the cam. And then, yeah, that's it. That's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put these together. I don't know what I have here. Whatever I'm going to have here for anchor cables, that's how many snares I'm going to build in this bundle. And then maybe what I'll do here is I'll do an actual video of how I take and boil them, and I'm just kind of following what I've seen on the internet, guys on YouTube and trappers, paying attention to people talking to me about boiling the oil off of them with baking soda, and then boiling them in logwood dye. And what I've done in the past is I will take my snares after I'm done boiling them, and I will take and put them in I'll leave them in a sealed 5-gallon pail, a clean 5-gallon pail with the dye. So I'll drain the baking soda water off them once I've done boiling them for a couple hours, and then I'm going to simmer them in a logwood dye for a few hours, and then I'll take all the snares out, put them in a clean 5-gallon pail, and pour all that dye water in there and leave them submerged. I mean, I've left them in there for 2 years, and what ends up happening is these particular snares, what I've found is, and I've heard guys, they are opposed to these halibut swivels. And I have found, only in the few wolves that I've killed with these snares, is that this halibut swivel in the locations where I have my snares, they have not hardly come into effect. So the idea is when this snare closes, and this snare, I did another video, I mean this snare literally closes to, you know, within a circle of around 4 or 5 inches or smaller, like 10 centimeters, whatever that is. So you see, just on the standard length of a snare, where that halibut swivel comes into play, there's a lot of room there. And what ends up happening is these wolves generally will have this section of, this section of snare, they're gonna have that tangled up on something else. And I haven't lost any with this cable that I use, but I do know that this halibut swivelly here, I haven't seen it come into effect yet. I mean, the idea of it is bulletproof. I mean, you know, if a wolf is struggling on the other end of it, where you're tangled on your anchor part, obviously this halibut swivel, it's built to handle that workload. But then the thing about that swivel is it's stainless steel. So even if you take and get all the shine off of all of the rest of your cable and your ferrules and everything else, the one thing that you kind of run into, what some people deem to be a problem, is you end up, this is the action that sits up above the trail where that wolf walks. So, you know, once you have it in logwood dye, it takes most of the shine off of everything. Even these cam locks, everything gets nice and cleaned up for the most part. But the thing is, that halibut swivel there, for some reason, it just doesn't take that dye as good. And then you end up with the diamond shine in the moonlight there, and for sure a wolf's keen eyesight, if they're seeing sparkly glints off of freshly opened snares. So I don't know, I think the idea there is that the longer that you leave these snares in the dye, and the longer that you leave these snares in the great outdoors, in the location where you're going to take and set them, it will, and it does eventually, dull the shine off of them. So, at any rate, I'm not going to get any more long-winded than that. That's my deal here. I'm building some snares, utilizing some old equipment off of the trap line, and yeah, once I got them done here and I'll get to doing some boiling, I'll post another video, and that's it. Solo Trapper out. Have a great day.